Um, thank you guys for being here. This is our first art program as part of the 2021 Summer Reading Program. This program was funded through a grant from the California State Library, the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services, under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act, administered in California by the State Librarian. So that means that everything that you guys have, all the supplies, the class is all paid for through a grant from the California State Library. So we're very grateful. Thank you to them for that. And I'm Miss Margaret. I work for the County of San Luis Obispo Public Library. We're going to be offering 4 of these classes, actually 2 in June and then 2 more in July. And if you want to revisit them later, we're going to be putting this recording on YouTube. So you can check out our YouTube page if you want to share this or do it again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking, and I'm going to pass it over to Miss Amy Wicks, and she is going to be leading our art class today. So let's give a round of applause.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to paint with you guys today. I'm hoping you guys have some watercolor supplies, but even if you don't, you can listen along and I'll give you instructions so you can do this later. We are going to be painting the ocean watercolor scene today. And we will need to find our watercolors. So in your kit, you may have seen these different little liquid watercolors. So we'll be using those today. And sorry, I should tell you a little bit about myself too. I am local. I live in Arroyo Grande and I teach lots and lots of art classes, both in person and on YouTube also. And I have 3 kids and they are all into art. So this is what we do a lot of, and I'm hoping that you guys will love this project. Don't feel like you have to make your project perfect. It's just going to be a fun experiment for you to learn something new. You can use different colors than I'm using, or you can use the same exact colors that I use, but you just do your best and make your own art because that's the fun of it. And we'll go ahead and get started. So in your packet, you should have, let's see, go back to that view. So you should have a piece of watercolor paper. And then again, I was saying you will have these little liquid watercolors. These are in little paint pods. Be careful when you open them because they are pretty liquid and they could splatter a little bit. I'm going to be using a palette, but if you have a paper plate, you can also use that. Sorry, my view keeps changing here. And you'll need a brush and a cup of water. You might also need a paper towel just in case you spill something. These are non-toxic and they should come out of fabric easily, but if you do spill them, we'll just get a paper towel and kind of quickly dab where the area that you've spilled. Okay. So for our first step, what we're going to do is really try to come up with some different blues out of the colors that you have in your packet, okay? So you'll go ahead and put, open these pods and just drop a few drops on some sort of a palette. It can be a paper plate, that'll work just fine, of each of the colors. And again, watching out for splatters. And what we're going to do is we're going to really try to come up with like tons of different colors from these 3 colors. So how we're going to do that is we're going to mix them and we're going to use them as is, and we're going to add more water and more color. So I'll show you what I mean in a second, but our first goal is really just going to be coming up with colors. Okay, so you can actually use one of the sheets of paper as a practice if you'd like, or you can use a piece of copy paper as a practice. And what I mean by a practice is coming up with these different colors. And also, if you are joining us with your own watercolor palette, you can definitely use your own watercolors. That's completely fine. It'll work perfect for this. And so we'll get started by making some different colors here. So I'll grab some water on my brush. I'm just going to experiment with using the colors that I've given you first. So let's say one of the blues, we grab a bit of that on our brush with a bit of water. And then we'll just make a nice wave pattern. I'm not fully starting the project yet. I'm just coming up with different colors. So showing you what I mean by that in this wave pattern. Okay, so that's one color. And then out of the other provided colors for you, you'll have a green. So you can go ahead and experiment with that green. And then you should also have a dark blue. Let's see if you guys can see that. Yeah, okay. All right, so there's a nice dark blue. Okay, so these are the three colors here that should be in your packet. If not, you can grab them again from your own watercolor supply at home. Now, the fun part is starting to mix these together. So let's start out with one of the blues and maybe some green. And just see if we can come up with more of a turquoisey blue color, more of a greenish blue. And so suddenly I've combined those two colors to make another nice ocean color. And then same thing with trying out different colors. So we'll try that dark blue with the green. See if we can come up with something, mixing some of that together. And so this is really just going to be a fun process art project. So again, we're not really worried about what the outcome is, but we really want to practice coming up with colors and different patterns and having our own art at the end of this. All right, so there's that dark, and then I want to show you something else. So we have mixing colors that we can do with our liquid watercolors, but also we can do different opacities. So we'll get one of your colors on your brush, and if you want your color to be its darkest, you're not going to add very much water. So this time with the liquid watercolor, I won't add any water at all. Let's see, switch over to a spot where I have more space here. So I'll show you the watercolor on its own is really dark, this little square here. And then as I gradually add more water to my brush, I'm going to lighten that color. So this is another way that we can change colors throughout our painting. And that is changing the opacity. So from light to dark, if you guys can see that, by just adding more water or more watercolor pigment. Okay, so that's just some basics of getting started. So I think we're ready to go ahead and start our actual project, which is the ocean watercolor. And what we're really going to be trying to do, it could actually go either direction when you're done with it. So kind of a cool abstract piece. So what we're going to focus on is trying to use those different colors to make these different ocean shapes. Okay, so if you think about waves in the ocean, you could just draw a wave, you know, that is a wave crashing. Maybe you've seen a painting that's a wave crashing before, but if we really think about the water and it just moving along in the ocean, that's what this painting is going to be about. It's just going to be about that, trying to capture that movement with a shape. Okay, so I'm going to start with one of these colors that I just mixed up. You can start with any color that you want. Again, this is your piece. And I'm going to start trying to find these movement wave patterns here. So I'll start sort of in the middle of my paper. And I'm just going to make this nice wave shape. Not even like a full wave, but just sort of a water, something that makes you think of water or a wave moving. So I'm going to keep using one color, and I'm going to add that to the paper in different spots. And you can make your shapes big or small. You can make them wider, you can make them narrow. They don't have to touch the edge either. So maybe I'll make one just right here in the middle. And then, see if you guys can see that, yeah. Okay. So just write sporadically throughout your page, which means at random spots in your page, you're gonna make these shapes. All right, so I've made about 4 shapes, and then we'll go ahead and use a different color now. I like doing these kind of projects because they're super relaxing, and you could put on some music and just kind of have a nice afternoon painting an abstract piece like this. I'm going to add 4 or 5 shapes of a different color throughout this page. And then really just going to start building this thing made out of a bunch of different colors and different shapes. Now, I chose to do an ocean theme on this painting, and so I'm using a lot of blues and blue greens, but you could make an abstract piece in the same way with a different color scheme of your own. So that might be something to try this summer. Right, so I'm really just going to keep filling the sky in. And we're also going to try maybe to use more water on your brush to get some lighter colors. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know. And we will try to answer those. Okay, as your paper starts to get more full, you'll get to do some smaller shapes. As of right now, I haven't really been touching these different shapes together. It can be a little, it can start to bleed a little bit if you do start touching the spots together, and that's okay. But if you want it to look more apart, then you'll just sort of fill it in as it's drying. So that's kind of why I'm working in different spots at one time. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get some lighter colors here by adding more water. Maybe a lighter green.
You can also just like, if your water is colored, you can just like dip the paintbrush in the water and use that too.
Yeah, that's true. You can. That's a great point. Mine is like really blue. So let's try that. You can come up with a really nice light color. That's a great idea.
Thanks.
How's everybody doing so far? Anybody have any specific questions about it? Oh, good job. That looks awesome. The liquid colors are pretty cool because they mix really well and they are super bright. So it's kind of fun to work with them. Let's see. So this is the first half of the project, really, is just filling the sky in. It just takes some time. So maybe we'll all just work for a little bit and see what we can come up with. As we get right up close to another color, you'll see that you'll get a little bit of bleeding, which can be kind of cool too. I'll try that now up here, because I know I have this wet area here. So this is another way you could be creative with this painting, is to just allow those to kind of bleed into each other. Yeah. And as you start to get it filled in more, you're going to end up with these little funny pieces like this one that's going, let's see if you guys can see it. This one going around this wave, and that's okay. We can make that a shape itself. So instead of these little pieces, then you're going to get one that actually wraps around one of these. And that'll happen more and more as you finish up here. Let's see what else color we can come up with. I can go down into here with this color. And it'll help me to fill this in. All right, so working with dark and light, using the same color but adding more water to it, and coming up with these different shapes.
Want to turn on the video?
Right. Okay, so as you guys are finishing filling yours in, I think I'm going to move to the next step. And you guys can just sort of listen and sort of check in and see what I'm doing. But you won't be able to do yours quite yet because yours is still drying. So the final half of this project is with the gel pen. So once you have something that is dry, we will go ahead and use the gel pen. You should have a white gel pen in your kit. If not, you can get these online or at Michael's. But white gel pens are really fun to work with because they can go right over your watercolor and they provide a really nice contrast. And so what we're going to do with the gel pen is we're going to use it when your watercolor is dry to create different patterns, which will give your painting this abstract feeling of movement. So you've already got the movement with the watercolor, but then now with the gel pen, it gives it just a little bit more pizzazz. It gives it really feels like maybe you're in the ocean and you can feel the vibrations of these waves. So I really like that and it's fun. So I'm going to show you some different patterns here. And again, feel free to keep working on your watercolor and just look up every once in a while, maybe see. There's simple patterns that you can do like little lines. And this part is fun too. It's almost as fun as painting it because it takes some time, but it looks really neat when you're done. So the gel pen, let's see if I can get a little closer for you. The gel pen really just shows up really nicely on top of this dark watercolor. So when yours is dry, you'll get to do lots of nice little patterns with it too. So little lines. You can use dots. So I'm doing a nice pattern of little lines, one on top of each other, different little rows. And then I'm going to do the same thing throughout the painting on different little shapes. And then also we can do some dots or some squiggly lines, all different patterns. So I think I'll show some dots. Do a nice 3-dot pattern where I'm doing a set of 3 and then leaving space and then another set of 3 and leaving space. And I'll continue to show you this while you guys are working. So don't feel that you'll miss it because I'll keep coming back to it, showing you these different patterns. Some of these shapes even ended up making me think of whales and different fish in the ocean. I like these big squiggles. That's a nice pattern. You can add some big squiggles, some dots, some lines. And then it's just about mixing up the patterns in different areas. So say we add some squiggly lines down here. The gel pen. And when you're using your gel pen, you really this more straight, the more vertical, straight up and down that you can hold it, the better the white gel will come out for you. You really don't have to press too hard on it to get it going. Right. Add some more little lines here. Right, so again, this is what you'll do whenever yours gets dry. I don't think the gel pen will work if it's still wet, so make sure you get it dry. And if you want it to dry faster, you can set it in the sun for a couple of minutes, and that will dry your watercolor super fast.
I'm going to go ahead and put a link to our survey for this program today in the chat. So as you guys are kind of getting to a place where you're finishing up, if you guys would take a moment before you leave the program to click that link, that will tell us about future programs that we can do and how you like the program today.
Awesome.
Is this a good time to stop recording so people could ask questions or?
Yeah, I think so. Do you feel like I've shown enough detail on the gel pen?
What do you think? Yeah, I think that looks good. We can keep going, but I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.